If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or founder, everyone keeps telling you you need to grow your team. You've got to make that team bigger and more successful and more productive. But how do you actually do it? Let's explore today how you go from just you to having a high-performing team. I was recently on Diary of a CEO talking about how small teams today have infinite leverage thanks to AI. But how do we build one of those small teams with infinite leverage? Let's explore how you go from you to having an amazing dynamic team that can have a huge impact in the world. Let's go step by step. Okay, so you may find yourself on your own and you're not actually part of a team. So what do you do if you're not part of a team, if you haven't yet got yourself a team? Well, there's three things that you can do on your own. Number one is you can be an apprentice. And if you're an apprentice, you're essentially doing a couple of things. You are trying to get three skills. You're trying to get commercial awareness, self-awareness, and access to resources. Commercial awareness is knowing how business works. Self-awareness is knowing how you work. And resources is things like money, suppliers, anything that you would need to be successful. So the purpose of doing an apprenticeship is to get those three things: commercial awareness, self-awareness, and access to resources. So that's about joining somebody else's team. Ideally, you want to join a small dynamic team run with an interesting founder so that you can be learning as much as possible during that process. The next thing that you could do on your own is you could do something called a side hustle. A side hustle is where you're testing your skills, you're seeing what you're capable of. And the idea here is that you want to do something that's open and shut within 90 days. You want to have a little campaign that you run just for 90 days. You might say, for 90 days, I'm going to set people's websites up, or for 90 days, I'm going to run a nightclub party, or for 90 days, I'm going to launch a particular product or an e-commerce channel, or for 90 days, I'm going to be an affiliate for a particular product I've found that online that I'm interested in. So it's just open and shut for 90 days. And the main thing here is a little bit of learning and a little bit of earning, but it's not going to be the long-term business. The key is that you want to be able to shut it down so you can do something that makes more sense. The final thing you could do here is become self-employed. Now this one is a trap. You don't want to get into this, because if you're self-employed, you are essentially getting yourself into the zone of constantly having to sell yourself and then deliver the work. Everything's on you. You're trying to do everything all on your own. You're not particularly getting good at anything, and you often get yourself trapped. You can't stop. You find yourself on the treadmill, and ultimately you feel the longer you've been doing this, the harder it is to stop, because you've always got a pipeline of sales and you've got a pipeline of delivery that you have to do. So you kind of like go through this really difficult phase of shutting it down. So you can get into self-employment as a thing. I much prefer that you do it in such a way that you aim to shut it down in 90 days so that you can move on to this phase 2, which is where we start building a team. Okay, phase 2 is called a scout team. So a scout team is, as it sounds, this is for scouting opportunities. This is for you figuring out what you should be doing in the first place. And it's all about testing. It's all about collecting data. There are 2 roles on a scout team. First role is, can we sell it? And can we build it or deliver it is the second role. So the 2 of you are going to work together on, can we sell it, can we build it? Now, you may not choose to work with this person long term, but it's really good to do this through these 2 lenses, because one person, probably you, has to figure out, can we generate leads? Can we book appointments? Can we present to people? Can we make sales? And the other person has to figure out, how much does it cost to build this thing? How much does it cost to deliver it? What are the issues with delivering it? What does it take to make a customer satisfied? What does it take to make a customer delighted? So you want 2 people who are thinking about things in a very different way. If you're going to be working with something like technology, the build it person probably has a background as a CTO or some sort of IT manager. The salesperson has a background in sales, right? So you're kind of leaning towards one of those 2 things. Now, what you might do is you might ask someone for a favor if they'll help you go through a scouting process. You might just simply find someone who's got a little bit of time on their hands and they're looking for an entrepreneurial journey as well, and they're just going to help collaborate on this. You might bring on an assistant. You might find someone who can be a research assistant who's got a background here. So you could reach out to someone on Upwork and say, I'm researching a business and I want to have someone who I can work with for a period of 60 days while we're researching. Now, both of you are also going to be ChatGPT enhanced. You're both going to have a $20 ChatGPT subscription. And what you're going to do is use, currently I'm talking about the O3 model, but whatever is the latest research model that ChatGPT offers. And you're going to use that constantly to figure out all the information that you need around building whatever it is you're going to do and selling whatever it is you're going to do. Now, obviously, you're going to come up with multiple ideas. You might have 10 different ideas, narrow it down to maybe 3 different ideas. And then you're going to just kind of like see which one's easiest to sell, which one's easiest to build. You're going to create little financial forecasts, and you're going to basically do 2 things. You're going to collect data, in order to do number thing here, you're going to validate ideas, and you're going to do something called forecasting. Right? So based upon the data, based upon validation, you're going to then forecast, and you're going to see, okay, what do we think this business can do? So you're going to come up with a little bit of a business model or a financial model that says, okay, if we can sell 30 of these a month, we're going to make 300 grand a year, something like that. So collecting data, validating ideas, and forecasting is what the name of the game is with the Scout team. Just a quick interruption. I'm running a workshop that I think you want to be at. It is a workshop on the 5-step process for becoming a key person of influence in your industry. There's a reason that we do it live and it's not pre-recorded, and that is because we're going to interact. There's all sorts of workshop activities that we're going to do live. You're going to get so much value out of this. There'll be a link below. Register right now. Come and join me for a 90-minute Zoom workshop where I'm going to be live on there. We can interact, do Q&A. It's a lot of fun. You'll be doing it as a shared experience with about 100 different entrepreneurs from around the world, and everyone gets so much value. You'll be so glad that you did. One of the best things that you do all week, maybe even all year, maybe in your entire life. Anyway, see you soon. Back to the video. So our third team is called a fire starting team. The Firestarters. So the Firestarters, their job is to get the business going. Their job, we've now picked an idea, we've got a financial forecast, our job is to launch it, to run campaigns. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a few different key roles with our fire starting team. The first role is called the Associate Key Person of Influence. So the associate key person of influence is not someone who is officially on your team. In fact, they're probably on many different teams. This is a successful entrepreneur. It's a successful, maybe they're an author, maybe they're a speaker, maybe this person is already a CEO of another company, but they are going to lend their name and reputation to be the associate key person of influence for this project. So you're going to enroll someone who's got a big reputation, and in some way they're going to be involved, and they're going to allow their name to be used in the launch of this. They're well known, liked, and trusted in the industry. They've got all sorts of contacts. They can perhaps do some things like opening doors. They might be able to speak at an event, all of those sorts of things. Now, why are they going to do this? Well, they might do it for a percentage of sales. So every sale, when I did this for the first time, I gave 5% to my associate key person of influence. They might do it for day rates. So I've worked with associate key people of influence who are charged $2,500 per day, right? Or more than that. And at $2,500 per day, they're earning pretty good money. Now, they might only do 1 or 2 days per month, but at least their name is working every single day of the month. So associate key person of influence, they're going to do it for fun and for enjoyment and because they want leverage, but they also, percentage of sales and day rates would be a good reason for them to do it. Okay, so we've got an associate key person of influence to be the name and reputation, and we've got 3 roles on the team who are working on this idea full time. So first role is head of sales. As you would imagine, this is the person who are responsible for what we call laps, leads, appointments, presentations, and sales. So every single day they are generating leads, they're talking to people and setting appointments, they're presenting to people and making sales, and essentially that is their job, sales laps. We want that person just focused on sales, 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 laps, laps, laps. Second person is our head of delivery. They're focused on customer success. They may also be focused on what we call the experience score. So experience score is essentially asking the question, how did you rate the experience? Like, was this an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10? Anything less than an 8 is a bit of a warning sign, but we're looking for customer success and increasing experience scores. And the third person is what we call the Swiss Army knife. The Swiss Army knife is the high agency generalist. Their job is to help with sales, to help with delivery, to coordinate with the key person of influence, to do anything that might need to be doing. So they could be setting up a little bit of basic software. They could be organizing some events. They could be calling people back to confirm that they're booked in for an appointment. They could be doing some social media marketing on the channels there. So we've got someone in sales, someone in delivery, and someone who's a generalist. And this is our 3 people who are working full-time on this business idea, getting the fire started, and they're working under the brand and reputation of the associate key person of influence. So those are our 3 key roles: sales, delivery, Swiss Army knife, working underneath the brand and reputation of the associate key person of influence to get the fire started. Okay, now our next team is our core team. So the core team is where we can get an enormous amount done. This is where the business really starts to take on a life of its own. We're going to prove that we've got a good idea. We're going to roll it out. We're going to run successful campaigns. This is where you could be doing 7 figures of revenue, 6 figures of profit after everybody gets paid. If you're a really great core team, you could actually get up to 7 figures of profit from just a small dynamic team. We live in a time where small teams have infinite leverage. It's absolutely wild. Every single one of these people, don't forget, has got AI enablement. Everyone's working with AI. Everyone's also working with media. So this team is a very, very highly leveraged and successful team that we're shooting for here. So who have we got on the team? Well, we now have a key person of influence, and this is a full-time person in the team. This is probably you if you're the founder. And now, rather than being one of these 3 roles, you've stepped up to be the key person of influence. Now it's your face on the campaign. You're the voice of the company. You're building the reputation. You've probably written the book. You've probably given the talks. You're probably on the podcasts because you are building the brand as the key person of influence. Your main connection to the business is through the general manager. The general manager is running things day to day. This person actually is the real person who is the brains of the operation. They just run the business day to day. I personally have multiple businesses now. I don't run any of them. Each of the businesses has a general manager. I always play the role of key person of influence, and I have a general manager who is my connection to that business, who really just does all the main things of running the business. And to be honest, I'm not particularly good at running a business. I always bring in a general manager. Now, when you think about it, anyone who can run a coffee shop, a nightclub, a restaurant, or a small agency would be a perfect general manager. If they can do those types of businesses, they can do almost any type of business. So a general manager is someone who sets you free to go be the key person of influence. Now, the general manager will have a couple of different people on the key members of the team. Over on this side, we've got someone whose job is marketing, and we've got someone whose job is sales. Now, the truth is we could have actually a couple of people here and a couple of people there. We can take this team up to about 12 if we need to, but let's just say we've got someone whose job is lead generation, which is marketing, and someone whose job is sales closing, right, which is sales, or at the very least appointment setting for maybe the key person of influence to close. So we've got marketing and sales. Over on the delivery side, we've got development, and we've got customer success. So development is developing a better product, and customer success is making sure the existing customers are succeeding with the product that you currently have. Development could be delivering and rolling out the product, and customer success is making sure that it actually works. So think about that as development of the actual product, and the interaction that customers have with the product is customer success. Over here, we want a role which is IT and a role which is media. So essentially, our IT person is going to be a superstar IT person. They're not just going to be IT, they're also going to be the person who is in charge of all the data that comes through the business as well. So the data that I'm referring to could be financial data, which is coming from your software that you have for managing your finances. It could be your performance data, right? So that could be cost per lead or the cost per acquisition, right? So they're all working together nicely. Now, our person here that is media, and it's also a person who's doing admin, right? And also a little bit of a junior SAK, Swiss Army knife. So this role here is supporting all the other roles, but also making sure that some of the time consuming stuff around running the business online is handled here. They're capturing media, they're capturing stuff that's going on around the business, they're getting that online, and then they're also working with all these other roles to be a bit of a Swiss Army knife as well. So admin, media, Swiss Army knife, all that sits in that box there. So that's our team of 8. Now, as I said, you could have a salesperson and an appointment setter. You could have someone who's in marketing for ads and marketing for social media content. You could have a couple of people in development or a couple of people in customer success. But the goal with this whole team is that it could be as small as 6 people with a few people covering multiple roles, and it could be about 12 people tops. That is the sweet spot. 6 to 12 people covering those kind of roles is ideal. Now, what is that team going to be doing? You're going to be running some campaigns. You're going to have what we call a perfect repeatable week, which is just making sure that every single week you're doing the high performing things. You're going to have 3 or 4 spotlight campaigns per year. That is 3 or 4 times a year, you're going to do something exciting, something interesting, something that kind of freshens the business up. And you're also going to be sharing what we call a big message. And that is where you kind of get out there on podcasts and put videos out and you share the big message of what you do. And essentially, you're going to be promoting your business through the big message, through the spotlight campaigns, and through the perfect repeatable week. You're probably at this point going to have 3 or 4 different products. You might have a gold, silver, bronze version of your product. You're ideally going to have some strong intellectual property. You'll have a clear idea of your ideal customer persona. persona, and you'll be building a business that can scale using digital assets, right? All of those will be problems that you solve together as a team. And this team, if you keep it like this, you can get better and better and have more and more fun, freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment year after year. So you've gone from you to having a scout team scouting ideas, having a fire starting team getting things started, those 4, and then you've evolved into having a core team who run a really highly leveraged, highly exciting little business where you're making the most of the amazing times that we're in and the amazing trends that you're in. All of this is made possible because of the technology and the tools that are available, things like AI and media and content and cloud computing. So you want to be using all of those tools to make sure that each one of these people can have the most high impact possible. I hope you found that interesting. If you like the idea of being more strategic in the way that you approach entrepreneurship, come and join me for one of my workshops. I'm going to be running one in the next week or 2, and it's all about taking this kind of thinking and exploring how entrepreneurship is a predictable journey. It's a 90-minute workshop. The link will be below, and I look forward to seeing you there. If you're enjoying this channel, give us a like, give it a subscribe, leave me a comment. I read all the comments, and I love seeing the comments, and I look forward to seeing you soon. All the best.